Okay, so let's check. Make sure my audio is recording. Nice. Bro, last video I tried to create it again and my audio was off. Frustrating. The reason why was because my headphones weren't properly connected. I don't know why. But anyways, let's look at funding rates. I always mention them, but why are they important? What do they show? How could you use them? So number one, let's look at this chart. Whenever funding rates are negative, they're red. It's always a good time to buy. We have funding rates red here. This is the weekly chart, by the way. Red rates here, and then we have red rates here. We have a couple red rates here, and then we end up booming. And then we have red rates here. Obviously, this was bad in the short term, but if you DCA'd, you know that this is the idea. We hit the peak of the bull run right here, and then we assume we're entering the bear market. We're going to DCA small at every time the funding rates go red. So we DCA a bit here, we DCA a bit here. Oh wait, we're back up here. You know, funding rates are pretty high. Maybe we sell. Um, Maybe not. Maybe we just hold. And then, of course, funding rates are negative here. We buy a bit, we buy a bit, we buy a bit, we buy a bit, we buy a bit whenever there's red funding rates. And then here, when it's at a price where funding rates are so low and the price is so low as well, that's when you should be adding a lot. Um, of course, here as well. So that's the general idea. Now, we haven't had negative funding rates for a while because the sentiment has been bullish. And that's what happens in bull runs. The funding rates go positive. Now, let's explain what funding rates are. So we have this example. Hopefully this video is shorter because I've already explained it with my mic off. So person one longs XYZ at $100. So that's the price of XYZ. They use $10 capital at 10x leverage. You know, they're putting $100 in technically because 10 times 10 is 100. Person two does the same thing, but they're shorting. Same exact example. Both of these people equal each other. There's an equal, let me add this. There's an equal amount of money, short and long. Okay, so in this case, if XYZ goes to 200, person one makes $100 and person two loses $100. So in this case, person one simply steals money from person two, right? So in this case, that's how it works. That's how person one makes money. Very, very simple. Now, in this second example, it's very similar. Person one longs one XYZ at $100. They use $10 of capital at 10x leverage. Person two, though, this time shorts 0.5 XYZ, not 1. We're looking at a different quantity. So they're using $5 capital at 10x leverage. That's about $50 worth, right? Both people do not equal each other. So if price goes to $200, you know, the crypto XYZ goes to $200, person one isn't stealing the money from person two. Instead of stealing the $100 from person two, they are only stealing $50 from them. And the other $50 that they made has to come from the exchange. So this is when funding rates come into play. If at all times the amount of dollars that are long and short are equal, then the funding rates are at zero because everyone's just stealing money from each other, right? Person one, the long, are stealing money from the shorts, person two, and that's how it works. But if the amount of longs, like in this case, the amount of money long is more than the amount of money short, this case, right? Then the money has to come from the exchange. So in this case, funding rates come into play. So if more dollars are long, funding rates are positive. If more dollars are short, funding rates are negative. If funding rates are positive, let's say it's 0.06, you have to pay the exchange a fee for holding your long position. If you are short and funding rates are positive, the exchange will pay you a fee for holding your short position. So look at when funding rates here are crazy high. If you were shorting, the exchange that you're shorting on with leverage actually will be paying you some money for holding that short open. The reason why? Because they want to keep the shorts and longs equal so that when one person makes money, the other person loses money. Now, if you are long at this point, when the funding rates are high, you are paying the exchange fee. So essentially, you're actually paying the exchange fee, and then the exchange gives it to the shorts. That's essentially what happens. Okay? Now, this, I wanted to also speak about arbitrage. So, let's say funding rates are super high. You are paid to short. Well, why don't you short Bitcoin? You're going to get paid to short Bitcoin. Well, the problem is, if you were to short Bitcoin here, and then it just continues up, then you're screwed. So now, think about this. You have a lot of money. You short Bitcoin here, and at the same time, you buy Bitcoin in spot. In spot, you don't have to pay any funding fees. There are no funding rates with spot Bitcoin. So, you short Bitcoin. Let's say you short one Bitcoin, and then you buy one Bitcoin with, your spot money. 0x leverage. Technically, it's like a 1x leverage, but it's a spot play, so there's no leverage. In this case, even if Bitcoin goes to 1,000,000, your profit and loss are the exact same no matter what. The only extra profit you're taking in are the funding rates because you're getting paid to short. Okay? Now, I hope that makes sense. This causes funding rate resets. So, as you can see, the funding rates get extremely high and then they eventually come down. So, if we look at the daily chart, there's this one day right here. It says minus 6%, but that doesn't take account the wick. The wick was about minus 12%. The funding rates got so high, and then we just crashed, and that lowered the funding rates a bit. Actually, quite a bit. Lowered them quite a bit. These funding rate crashes will always happen because people are using arbitrage. People start shorting and buying spot Bitcoin, and then other people just get liquidated, and it causes these funding rate resets. Do not try to predict the funding rate resets, but just know that they'll happen. Know that these quick wicks will happen, and they usually end up coming right back up as it did here. So, I guess that's it. I hope I explained it well. I hope you were able to learn. Things are looking bullish for Bitcoin. I hope we can definitely break above these highs finally. 72K break would be amazing. But we'll see. Anyways, see you in the next one. Bye.